But let's talk about our biggest one, a company we're extremely proud of, and that's Aspen. It's a pharma company now of scale on a global basis. Comes out of South Africa, but it has gone into Asia, it's gone into Australia in a big way, and it's gone into the Americas in a significant way. It's also involved, of course, in Europe. We'll talk a little bit about its areas of focus. It started out as a combination of generics and all that stuff. Stephen Saad, Gus Attridge established the company about 16 years ago. Market capitalization, 140.8 billion rands, not dollars. Price to earnings ratio of 30.06, dividend yield of 0.70. But Joseph, the more recent history of Aspen is that it goes almost to like 400 and something rands a share, then has a terrible pullback in the last period, perhaps because people expected a lot more of them than they were able to deliver with recent results.
I think once results come, people really get disappointed, investors in particular, given the fact that this has been really on a massive global expansion program. I mean, 150 countries in 16 years, that's an awesome kind of track record if you look at it from Mr. Stephen Saad. So certainly, I think, people a little bit say, where are we going? But people need to understand this is almost like a growth stock. It's almost like your NASPA. So it's gone to 440, currently trading just now, managed to cross over to 300 rand per share at 310 roughly today. The PE in South African terms, obviously a little bit higher. If you compare market cap with the global guys, tiny, because I mean, it's almost like 140 billion rand divided by, say, 14.
Yeah,
that
brings you back
becomes
to $10 billion.
So it becomes quite tiny on that. But I still like it. I still like it in the sense that, this is not a short-term kind of play. If you're looking to go into it, you got to consider where they have gone in terms of diversification from a geographical perspective, but also the products they sell.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about those, because the biggest standout, apart from the range of generic stuff which they kind of cobbled together, was that in recent years they've done quite a lot of infill acquisitions, particularly in Europe, in order to get involved with stuff which is drugs which are used to treat clots in blood, like the clots you don't want. So that is things like for deep vein thrombosis. They bought a drug called monoembelex from Novartis. So these are not necessarily drugs that are at the cutting edge of the R&D process. They've picked up manufacturing facilities and also drugs that are close to or have in fact already had their patent expiry. But this has given them real strength in that area. The other area that they are big is in milk formula, infant milk formula, which is, is not a particularly scientific process. It's about drying milk and, adding the necessary ingredients to it. But Aspen has proved to be a very good operator and has done well in the manufacture of these things.
I mean, if you look at it today, most mothers are working. Certainly, there's less breastfeeding, although it's recommended. So your formula products, your milk products certainly are going to keep on selling. And if they've entered into China, because now China is moving away from their one-child policy, so certainly they've got a massive opportunity.
And the Chinese have had issues in the past with production problems, so they're very keen on the foreign manufactured infant formula. And in addition to that, in addition to having picked up these businesses here in Africa and also in some Asian countries, they have got, through some recent transactions, quite big exposure in Latin America, Mexico in particular. There was a kind of a thing where Nestle and Wyeth and between them couldn't own the businesses, and so they were able to pick it up because of competitive concerns. Okay, one other issue to put on the table, because it was a concern last year, was that they had about an 18% shareholding from GlaxoSmithKline.
Yes.
But Glaxo then started selling in two chunks, which caused a real crisis of confidence, because people were saying, well, if Glaxo is selling and they've taken that stake down from 18 to 12 and then from 12 to 6, what are we? Are we the monkeys that are holding this thing? Why are these guys selling? Is that a concern still, would you say?
So certainly, I think, when things like that, it does happen, where investors will say, well, you're going in and everybody is selling. Do you understand the market better than they? So from an R&D and just investor, expectations and so on, it could have been the cause of the share price really taking a massive dip. But my view is that, is gonna start holding.
Well, let's look at the share price chart now, because you said it already. It goes to 440 rands a share, and then has a real slide over 2015. It has picked up though. It got to like 250, and as you said, it's now at 309. I mean, I've been hot on it all the way through. We've been backing these guys and supporting them and saying, look, in due course, they're very good operational. They're going to get the costs under control. They're going to sort out new lines of supply. But the recent results did still come across quite noisy. There was a whole lot of nonsense about Venezuela. Like,
Yes.
what are we even doing in Venezuela? Huh?
Well, certainly, I think, we need to replace, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but, that area, if you look at it, it's really full of drugs, the other drugs. So hopefully they're going to replace the other drugs there.
I guess it's a currency issue, and they picked up that business when they got into Latin America across the board from one of their acquisitions. So they had to take that right down.
I agree with you.
But your sense then is they have results in June and December every year. So now we've been through the December ones. Your sense is, and I think the market is as well, is that people are starting to price better numbers in for the year
going forward. So
Okay.
if you basically want to hold for the long term, it has to be part of your core portfolio. So you could start adding actually where you are. So in our view, you're looking at basically trading at a discount of about 19-20% to what we believe is fair value.
Excellent. So hot on that.